Another evening of Museum in Lotus. We are back here in this wonderful gallery. We have something interesting on the table today, Mr. Pino.
Yes.
What episode is this today? It's 46?
It's the 46th episode.
And
exactly.
you have seen that actually for the few previous episodes when we talked about the Tibetan carpets,
Yes.
I have left them in the gallery, and one of them I've left in right here, which I think is a great adornment, a great setup with this Qing Dynasty table that we know.
It's an amazing piece, and not only for the phoenixes that we see in the medallion, 3 phoenixes.
Right.
That's
the key thing, yeah. the auspicious symbols is here. I mean,
yes.
We talked about how Tibet was influenced greatly by China and how the cultures crossed and so on. Well, we know that if you go to a museum, you'll be seeing all these wonderful artifacts far, far away. You won't be able to touch them or feel them, but actually, when you come to the gallery, the collections that we talked about, they are here and you can feel them and you can touch them. And it might have been how it was in the past, because when we talked about remember they talked about the tea horse old route
yes.
that Tibet and China, they were trading with. They would have brought in tea, they would have brought in carpets, they would have brought some carpets to go back and so on. So maybe in one of the Qing Dynasty, one of the wealthy households, we'll be seeing this amazing table, and we would actually have a Tibetan carpet on it. We didn't know, no one knows. It might have been like that from a very, in the ancient past. So there we have it. It's amazing, it's stunning, and you should come here to the gallery and feel it. And there was another rug that we talked about, which was the tiger rug.
A beautiful tiger
yeah.
rug.
Apparently, the tiger rug, not only is it precious, not only is it valuable, even in today's auction market, it commands a stunning and roaring price, as I know.
Roaring.
And this carpet now is also in the gallery. It's actually on one of the chairs over the other side.
Right.
That if you sit on that chair with that tiger rug, you will feel like a king, because you have the whole tiger rug behind you.
Absolutely.
That's a kingly thing, and you can feel it right here in the gallery. Before we go further, I have friends here. Joe Tan, Yvonne, tagging friends. Eileen is here. Stephen Chua, long time no see. Jillian, Dylan Lim, Madam Lai, and so on, so forth are here. So if you are here, let us know. Let me know in the comments so that I can say hi to you. Because today we're going to talk about something that's close to all of us.
Close to all of us.
Close to all of us. Time might have passed, but the idea, it's still around. And as for the longest period, as long as you have to travel to somewhere, you can't run away from this question.
Yes.
Am I right?
Absolutely,
so,
yes.
And the question is that, what is your mode of transport? What is your mode of transport? How do you come to the gallery, Mr. Pino?
I come to the gallery by way of taxi, sometimes by MRT.
Right.
And tonight it was a taxi.
Tonight was a taxi, yeah.
I was late, and therefore I had to rush, just to be honest.
I mean, we can list the many modes of transport in today's world.
Yes.
There's a saying that the continents are often getting closer and closer. It's not because of geographic shift or platonic shift, but actually because the modes of transport are getting faster and faster. For instance, let's talk about some distance. You were from Italy.
Yes.
And to travel to Asia, Singapore or Hong Kong.
Yes.
How do you do it?
Air flight.
Air flight, and it will take about 12, 14, 15 hours.
Yes. Yes.
So it takes about 15 hours from Italy to Singapore or Hong Kong. Those of us who are going to fly to Europe will definitely know, because the borders are opening up now. But you have I won't say ancestor, you have a predecessor who also traveled to China, Asia.
Yes.
In fact, you have a few. One of them was a painter during the Qing Dynasty.
Yes.
The other was during the Yuan Dynasty, where he actually talked to the Mongolian empress. The one that's most famous that everyone remember, of course, was Marco Polo.
Yes.
During Yuan Dynasty, how did he travel to China?
And of course, it had to be by ship.
By ship?
Yes.
By ship, yeah. So by then, the Silk Roads, everything, the Silk Road on the seas, they were open. So by ship. So if they traveled by the Silk Road way, then you would have to buy, sort of like by foot. Of course, they have like horses and other things to carry them around. And it would definitely have taken them like months or even years to travel to China.
Yes.
Right? So, but now with 17 hours, 15 hours, and probably with the advancement of technology, you can fly to Italy and fly back on the next day.
Technically speaking, it's possible.
It's possible, right?
Yes, technically speaking.
If you, one day we might even be able to, when you wake up, you fly to Italy, you can have pasta for dinner and you fly back.
Yes.
We do that. Singaporeans do that now, you know, they take their car.
Yes.
On a weekend, they drive to Malaysia, Johor Bahru, they have lunch, they have dinner, they come back on the same day. Right?
But it's an exciting experience. I mean, first of all, to go out from your country and stay less than a day and then come back.
Yeah, you sort of, you have never left, you have left, but not exactly left. So that's something. And even for greater distances, like not just Johor Bahru, but also let's say to KL or even to Penang, because if you fly to Penang, it's 1 hour.
Just more than an hour.
Just more than an hour. You get the correct flights, you will be able to fly to Penang for lunch. And if you get the correct flight, you might fly back for tomorrow's breakfast.
Yes.
They're all within sort of like a day, right? Because it's very convenient for us. But you know, traveling has always been a key thing. Whether is it for leisure or whether is it for survival. To cross the distance, to conquer great distances. Sometimes it can be real conquering because you have to go for warfare and you have to cover great distances. Or sometimes it's that you have to go for trading and so on. How did the ancients, without cars, without MRTs, without, no Grab anyway, no air flights, no steamboats, how did they actually travel? How did they actually cover the whole distance? Because what we know, the whole world as we know it now, was already discovered since probably Christopher Columbus' time.
Yes.
No new continents were discovered. Everyone they know where things were 500 years ago. How did they actually travel around the world? How did they actually travel from one city to another city? It can't be just by foot because it will take for ages.
It's by horse, I would say. And we have here elephants.
So by elephants as well.
And it's possible that also by elephants.
Right.
And maybe in Tibet, just thinking about the yak, which is a totally different animal from the ox, but very solid, very sturdy, and that's another way of traveling. I suppose that we can commonly say by way of animals, from one city to the other. But if we were thinking about a continent to the other, it would be by ship. This is what, and then the trains came about.
Right.
And that was the Industrial Revolution. Then it brought to the cars, motorcycles, and helicopters, aeroplanes, as we have mentioned earlier.
Oh, I'll stick to Grab for now because when you talk about elephants, I mean, for every different district and area, for sure, there are animals that are more suitable for the mode of transport, right? I mean, you don't find elephants everywhere, but if you do find elephant in those areas and they're native to that region, probably they would have been enlisted, bred, and well-kept for modes of transport.
Yes.
So that is why, this is not just, we are just opening our mouth and saying, because we do have artifacts that are collected by Master Yun. Not for sale, but quite fun and interesting, antiques anyway, that actually shows us that these were the modes of transport back then.
Yes.
Am I right?
Absolutely, yes.
So if you have been looking at the camera, then you find that these three things right in front of me, actually in this angle, you can see them as well. These are actually carved as elephants.
Yes.
And they were ancient modes of transport.
Yes.
And we're going to go deeper into like what would they use for transport, for what purpose and so on. But I just want to have a very fun thought. The first thing I'd like to ask Mr. Giuseppe is that what's the age of this tree roughly?
This would be 19 to 20th century. This would be roughly the age. And these are either bronze or they're brass.
So this, sorry, so this is about 19th century, which means that we are estimating it's about 150 years old. This bronze or brass sculptures of elephants. We are going to look into their details shortly. 150 years.
I would say 150 years.
Plus minus.
Definitely, plus minus.
So these were not public. These were modes of transport 150 years ago.
Yes.
Right? And they carved them. So probably at the time when they carved this, it had certain ceremonial purpose and so on. We can imagine 150 years from now that if someone, if the archaeologists that digged up a bronze sculpture or a copper sculpture of a bus or or a taxi, and probably there will be someone doing other shows in the future, and they said, oh, 150 years ago, no, these people, those less advanced humans, they actually traveled in this longish thing they call bus, and each bus can take about like 40 people, and they have to tap their card on it, and so on. Yeah, you know, we actually have those things. I forgot to bring it here because we have those bus models. You can buy it. You can buy it at SBS. You know, it's like they have this bus model. They have new stuff. They come out. It serves as toys for children or commemorative sets.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So if those things were kept nicely and somehow they managed to survive for 150 years, when people in the future look back, aha, this is the thing that was done 150 years ago, and it's actually called a bus, B-U-S.
Yes. Yes.
Probably by then we can teleport. I don't know. Yeah. So, okay, let's go back to the elephants. The elephants that we have here, as Mr. Pino has mentioned, has gave us a rough guide that 19th, 20th century, 150 years, brass or bronze, solid material. That means that sort of like built to last, we can understand. From where? Where were they from?
This originates from India.
Right.
And India has the elephant as an important emblem. We actually see the elephants being placed as sculpture in front of temples.
Right.
And they were actually almost considered as deity in their own right. Now, you just look at this beautiful 3 pieces of Master Yun's collection. They're absolutely amazing pieces. Amazing because of the quality of the detail. When we look carefully, and if you come and you actually see the side, each one of them, I mean, they're very heavy. This is solid bronze or brass, and you will see the saddle on each one of them. This is a plain saddle, but when it comes to the other, it's quite an elaborate with flower details or geometrical details.
So it's a upgraded form of
upgraded
of mode of transport, yeah.
Absolutely.
So this is a simple saddle. So this is like a Honda.
This is a simple saddle. However, on the side there are some definition.
Right.
And look at this. This element still sits on the saddle.
I see.
And if we look carefully, there are details. Now, what is so beautiful about this elephant?
I can see that the way you lifted it, actually it's very heavy.
It is very heavy.
Oh, it's solid. Yeah, it's solid.
This is solid.
I thought they were make it empty inside. This is solid. Oh my God. Yeah.
This would be in excess of 3.5 kilos, in spite of the dimension, which is actually not that big.
Gym worthy, yeah.
Now, if you look again at the details, you would see all the equipment,
right?
Okay, that the horse would wear, and the reason is it's in a ceremonial placement.
Right.
Then, when we look at the tail, look how beautifully it's the cast has been done.
Right.
And when we look at it, we also see details on the upper part of the head, Look at the eyes. The eyes are exquisite, very beautiful.
Right.
Now, we see that on two of these sculptures, I would like to call them sculptures, we have a rider. And in one case, it's a single rider, and in the other case, there's a rider with what appears to be a small figure. And this is actually called, it's a deity, and it's a deity called Kanoba.
Right.
Now, this deity is worshipped in the Indian Deccan, and in particular in two states, Maharashtra and Karnataka. Now, look at the festivity in which the elephants would appear. In these two elephants here, they're actually on a pedestal. I even think that this first one, it's almost the end of the 18th and the beginning of the 19th century.
So for 250 years.
This is more. I think the one which is younger, if we can call it younger, would be this one.
Right.
These two are definitely
older pieces.
Patina, exceptional. Details, out of this world. I mean, look at this small element here at the bottom.
Right. It's intentional. I mean,
intentional.
This is a decoration to the elephants.
It's a decoration to the elephant. Like the ankles that women would wear around the ankles again. So extremely beautiful.
And
very beautiful.
The fun thing is that they make it, you know, it's carved like a different piece, but it's stuck there.
It's stuck there.
Yeah, so it shows the fluidness.
Yes.
Already because it's bronze and brass, so it looks very solid. But with the adornment of these parts, it makes it feels much alive.
Much alive. And let me tell you, just let me show you.
Oh,
you see this
you took out the passenger, yeah.
With the wife is actually basically it moves. Now, when you look at the face, it's almost totally gone. It wasn't like this when it was first cast. It had all the details. But being a deity, possibly people would have touched the face so many times, almost to lose the definition of the face. And this is how elegantly the piece rides the elephant.
So we are 100% sure that, you know, these aren't elephants that are carved out for nothing.
Yes.
Because this person, this deity that I'm holding in my hand, was actually the passenger or the rider.
The rider.
Or the driver, or whatever that is. So somehow they make it flexible. Probably it's easier to carve the bronze or brass in that sense. And this part was attached right over here. So takes reign over the entire elephant as the driver.
It's the driver.
It is this deity's or this little figurine here's mode of transport.
Mode of transport.
Mode of transport, yeah.
Yes.
So there we have an ancient. Oh, it's really heavy. It's an ancient mode of transport. Here we don't see the figure.
I think it's missing.
So
I think the figure is missing, and it would have been a beautiful, beautiful figure.
Well, we can imagine because this is you can extract this out. So when I take this, I can might not be a perfect match, you know, but if you put it here, you can roughly feel it might have been like this. Oh my goodness!
These are very heavy.
It's extremely heavy, yeah. So this is it could have been like this, and of course with time, with age, we see certain holes here, and this was probably meant for long weapons that are missing now.
Yes.
But we can imagine like 200 years ago, the full glory of this, that the rider was here, and there will be a long weapon and so on. And because with all the decorations, the situation would have been a ceremony purpose.
Yes. It would have been a ceremonial.
Right. And I noticed that not just this, you know, even the saddle or what do you call this? This can be removed as well.
Can be, and if you look on the sides, doesn't it give you the impression almost of luggage?
Yes, it does. Oh, yes, it does, yeah.
Which would mean that there was transportation by the elephant of luggage, of people moving to one city to the other.
Right. Elephants, of course, would be a best mode of transport for moving house.
Yes.
Right? I mean, okay, there are different transport for different purposes. That we know, right?
Yes.
I was asking Mr. Pino, when you travel to Asia, what was the first stop in Asia? Hong Kong? Long ago.
I remember the first flight, and that was in 1990 when I arrived in Singapore. It was a flight from Rome to Bangkok, and then from Bangkok to Singapore.
Do we have a direct flight now? I think we have, right?
With Singapore Airlines, we do have.
Yeah.
And I think it's the only line that flies direct. All the rest would fly Cathay, would fly through Hong Kong, and then Hong Kong, Rome.
Right. So if you want to fly great distances, you will be flying via airplane.
Yes.
You'll be carrying a lot of luggage and all this stuff. Suppose if you have to move here, then the rest of your luggage and everything will have to fly by a cargo plane.
Yes.
Right. If you have to move a lot of grand things, great amount of luggages, I don't think a horse will suffice. No. Probably an elephant, or you know what you mentioned just now, the Sebastians and the yak.
Yes.
Because the yaks can carry sturdy and strong, great distances.
Used to the very freezing weather that we have that in Tibet. They can take the rain without the freezing rain without any problem whatsoever. An element of interest which I would like to share is we've spoken about this Indian elephants, but there's also the way the Chinese look at the elephants and what they think about the elephant. And I was actually interested to know that in Feng Shui, there is a meaning and attribution which are provided to elephants.
Right, yes.
And they actually consider a source of wisdom, the elephant, source of protection, a source of strength. And I don't need to go more in depth. Strength. The elephant are very robust animals and is the most, the grand mammals on Earth. Beside that, it brings good luck.
Yes.
And I've seen not only this good luck in the Indian culture, but also if you go to Cambodia, you will see that there are some silver elephants, usually made in two parts.
Right.
Again, it's a way of sharing the good luck, the prosperity, and auspicious wishes.
I see.
So that's something that I find very interesting. In the Indian culture, there are some of this aspect which are in common. Of course, the concept of strength, the concept, in this case, of nobility, and the elephants were almost reserved to royals. In the Hindu culture, ceremonies would definitely use the elephant. Again, it's the strength of the faith, and the animal represents this strength.
Yes.
This is the kind of an analogy.
Sorry.
Please.
Yeah. It's on what you say. It's got to do with we talked about the purpose of the occasion.
Yes.
And therefore you choose the correct mode of transport, right?
Yes.
So elephants, of course, as you mentioned, in different cultures, even in the Chinese culture, has strong connotations of peace, of status, of power. Somehow it resonates across different cultures.
Yes.
It's a bit like today's world when, let's say, for instance, I'll give you an idea. I'm not sure whether this exists in the Italian culture, but in Singapore culture, it definitely is there. Your daughter gets married. And they will have to drive the bride, right?
Yes.
So, and since it's like an occasional thing, it's like a ceremonial thing. Chinese, they would actually want to actually rent a better car or get a better car from the friends to actually say, oh, let this be the, I don't know what they call it, the marriage car, the wedding car, or what, you know. So do they do that in Italy?
Of course.
Really?
For the bride, there's the best car. For the groom, not so much, I would say. It's everything grand with reference to the bride.
So at least, most probably, people will either get a car that is significant in their path.
Yes.
Like, you know, oh, well, we know each other, I was having this old car, so they get it for memory's sake, so it's a ceremonial thing. Or, you know, standard thing, you at least you will get a Mercedes or a BMW, at least. Some people will go to the extent of getting a Rolls Royce. Of course, some people on a different scale of prosperity, they will get some Italian cars, which is, you know, the Italian cars, the Lamborghini, the
Lamborghini,
the Maserati. Yeah. So these are even in today's world, we have different modes of transport for different purposes. And the elephants, these antique Indian elephant sculptures that we see in front of us, as Mr. Pino has explained, mode of transport for sure, and they were meant for a ceremony, because that's why we see the random details that are there. Whenever you see details after 46 episodes of Museum in Lotus, you would know that when you see extra details there, they are meant for something exquisite. It means that the family is wealthy or is meant for a ceremonial purpose. So back in the old days for Indians, if they ride an elephant, it's either they're going to move house or probably to show their strength, then it will be for a ceremonial purpose. I think it makes sense because it's not even so far to as India. In Thailand, the same thing.
Absolutely,
the king's procession and so on, you will see them still doing the same thing. They will ride on elephants to assert their strength and superiority over the masses.
Yes.
So it makes a lot of sense. And I think a lot of wealthy Indian families, they still follow that today. They can ride their daughters in Maseratis and what, but you know, Maserati is dime a dozen for them, probably, yeah. So they get elephants.
When I lived in Mumbai, I actually sometimes in the center of Mumbai, very important hotels, and I would see, in this case, the groom on an elephant, beautifully adorned, and there were trumpet and following the groom. So look how important it is, even to this day, the elephant.
Absolutely.
And it's a beautiful ceremony. Every time I could see an elephant, I would just stop and see the animal. So gracious.
Have you been on an elephant before?
I have been on an elephant, and that was when I went to Rajasthan, and I was there. Beautiful animal, and guided, of course. So yes, that was a great experience. I don't know if for the animals to have two people sitting on the back was that great.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about whether it was good for the animal or not. I mean, I have been on an elephant before and I didn't feel that great. It was just, probably I was afraid that the elephant might throw me off any moment. Yeah, and then I'll be off. We have elephants because if this was a show about not about antiques but what is happening in the modern day, I'll be talking to you about Hondas and Mercedes, but today it's something about antiques. So we have elephants, and we know that ancient mode of transport, not just elephants, another common mode of transport would be horses.
Horses.
We have actually talked about horses many times.
Many times, yes.
Many times. Like, you know, we were just talking about how China and Tibet connected. It was through the tea horse road.
Yes.
Yeah, because the road is so narrow, only one horse can bypass and pass by, and they will stack all the tea on top of the back of the horse. Poor horse. Yeah. What else? When else do we talk about horses? A great many times.
Many times.
Many times.
We have.
And finally, today we really have invited a glorious horse with us today.
Absolutely. It's called the golden horse.
Oh, it's the golden horse.
So
do you know that Golden Horse is a name of an award?
Is it? No.
Like Golden Horse Award, that means that it's called 金马奖. It's for people who like are excellent at acting. It's like Oscars, but the Asian one.
Right.
It's called Golden Horse.
Golden horse. I
have
wonder
golden horse.
why golden horse.
I didn't read. Yeah, there's golden horse, there's golden rooster.
Okay.
There's a few other golden stuff, but actually we do have a golden horse with us today. And if you have been looking at the white camera just now, you will know that these 3 brass elephants, unfortunately, the paint is off, but we can still see some remnants of the paint here.
Yes, yes.
We have, and in the background, there is a horse that is glittery and shiny, and that's a golden horse.
It's the golden horse.
It was also a mode of transport.
Also a mode of transport.
Right. Would you like to describe the horse while I bring it? Allow me, yeah. Because the elephants are extremely heavy, yeah. Terrible, yeah. You know, the good thing about having a extremely heavy mode of transport is that no one will steal it away. Yeah.
No one will steal it away.
No one will steal it away. Okay, let me just move this to the side. All right. Okay. Let's take a look at the horse, shall we?
Yes.
I'm going to be extreme. It's lighter because it's wood.
It's wood.
It's wood. The thing I learned in Museum in Lotus is that anything that's of wood, it tends to be lighter. Which is great news, yeah. So actually, it's not that light, actually. Okay. Okay. Look at the horse. Oh, full gold.
It's magnificent.
I'm surprised that actually at the age of this, please.
Okay, this would be 20th century.
100 years plus minus.
It would possibly be 100 years. I don't need to describe the level of the carving of this horse. It's just a piece of art in its own merit. Every single detail is carved. You will see that the tail, and here you would see the hair around the head, very well detailed, black, but all the rest is gilded. And when I see it carefully, I can see that just underneath the gilding, there's the gesso, which is the technique that we've already sometimes touched on, which is a sort of fluid, liquid kind of plaster that covers the wood. Then it makes the wood even, and therefore after that the gilding takes place. So this wonderful horse is reminiscent of a very important festival that takes place in the Tamil Hindu religion, and this is in Madurai. Madurai is in Tamil Nadu, and once a year, during the period of April, it's in a procession, a representation of a king, a deity, mounting the horse, would just come, and this is on the charitable festival, and it would give the blessing to a crowd of devotees. Not only there's a blessing, it will just take away the negativities, the sins, and the promise is there that the following year it will reappear once again. You can't imagine at this particular festival the number of people participating. And this is just the example of the horse. Possibly in that particular festival, there would be a much bigger example. This is an amazing sculpture.
Right. So this is actually also a mode of transport.
This is a mode of transport.
But as Mr. Pino has mentioned, it's a mode of transport for the gods.
For the gods.
And if you explain it like that, we can understand there's so many fine details that's all over the place. Because if you look closely, the horse, this is the horse. And these areas are things that added to it, all these little fine details. I mean, they are so refined, if I may say. They look like, you know, if you go for, what do you call that, amusement park?
Yes.
You have that thing that turns around and around. What do you call that?
Correct,
What do you call that? Casserole? No. What do you call that?
It's a carousel.
Carousel. What's casserole? I mean, casserole is food, right?
Casserole is the container
where I put food inside. Yeah.
Where they prepare the food.
Yes.
And especially meat.
Yeah, that signifies that Art Beyond Museum is coming back. Yeah. Carousel. Is it carousel? Yeah.
Yes, it's a carousel.
Nothing to do with the carousel application today, but it's the thing that you put $1 and
You're
then
absolutely right.
you can ride on a horse. You can ride on a fancy horse. The horse doesn't move, but the whole thing moves. And
Yes.
for kids,
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, look at this horse. This horse looks exactly like that, and it looks like a fantasy horse.
Yes.
Right, with all the adornments and all. Look at this thing.
It's a fantasy horse.
It's a fantasy horse. Yeah.
Very well
so
said.
that's why it's a mode of transport of gods.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a mode of transport as well. And actually, it might be a very good time to actually talk about this now, because if you've been paying attention to Facebook and all the news channels, because everyone is reporting about Queen Elizabeth II's ceremony.
Yes.
And because it's a ceremony thing, and you see that a lot of horses are used, and some of the horses, they actually, if you look at it, they would look a bit like this without the gold, but they would look like this with all the different designs and all the different jewelries and so on. So it's a ceremonial horse to bring something from one place to the other, or as you have mentioned, to show the conquering of evils and so on. So conquering is involved, traveling is involved, asserting of strength and power involved. That's what a mode of transport would actually do to you.
And you were mentioning about the mode of transport and what has happened in the world of transportation in the 20th century and the 21st century. But in the mind of people, horses, elephants go back not century, millennia.
Right.
So we still have it in, I would say, our DNA, in our blood. And the recognition of a horse, once all the gears are around it, would signify nobility, aristocracy. And that's what exactly has happened in the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II. We would see horses, some cars, but horses mainly. Why? And I think there's an analogy, if I can draw this analogy, is relatively simple and evident. It's a representation of a king, and therefore the strength of the king. It would also have a wonderful quality, the speed, and the speed of thinking of the monarch, but also the agility of taking the necessary decision at the right time.
Right.
And at the end, it would be power. Aren't these qualities and adjectives referable to the horse as well?
Absolutely.
I think so.
Absolutely. I mean, you sound like a car salesperson now. You sound like a car salesperson. Because when people sell Mercedes and they sell BMW, they're not going to tell you the horsepower. We talk about horsepower now, right? Yeah.
Yes,
If we still use the word horse, we don't talk about horsepower or how big the tires are. They talk about it's a status symbol.
It's a status symbol.
Yeah, they will speak in that voice, They will speak in this $1 million voice, and then they will show you that a car is riding. It's about status. It's about power.
Yes.
Yeah. No. Back in the old days, when they were trying to sell a car,
Yes.
they will put a sexy lady next to it because sex sells back then.
Yes,
Yeah. They
yes.
will have someone dressed in. Back then they call it revealing. For us, it's nothing now. They will have one person next to the car.
Yes.
And they will showcase the car. Actually, I don't have the. Luckily, I didn't prepare the photo. Nowadays, even in car shows, they actually have these models around as well. To parade around the car, to show you to open the door and all this stuff. Just to have the connection with you that if you have this car, actually it means something else in your life.
Yes.
And as you're talking about this, I was admiring this horse and I see this thing which connects to the previous few episodes we talked about.
Yes.
Look at this thing here. I can't take it out because it's part of the sculpture. But this whole thing, it's actually like the saddle or sort of like the carpet. And that's what we talked about. Because
it's a saddle.
Right, because if it was a horse in the wild,
Yes.
you wouldn't have this thing over here.
Of course you would not.
This
Yes.
was meant for riding.
Yes.
And something exquisite has been placed on top.
Yes.
Saddle or a horse riding carpet, it's right on top. That's something. This is really something.
I did not mention almost on purpose, but the deity that would ride is called Ragana.
Wow.
And Ragana is basically associated with one specific temple, and this specific temple takes the name of Raganatha Swami. So a specific temple where the chief of the gods would be exactly this particular deity. Golden horse. And the Chitirai festival. And if you happen to be in April in South India, do make the time to take a look. It's really something very special.
I see.
Very special.
I see. So another mode of transport we see here, we've seen the majestic elephants. And of course, we see this is definitely smaller. I mean, in real life, it's definitely smaller. But this is a golden horse. So think about that. All high class, very high class modes of transport.
Yes.
It's stunning. It's just astonishing. Now, I want to get back to the idea. Let me just place this horse to somewhere that would be safer. And you know, you look at this horse. If you look at this horse, it's actually in a galloping motion.
In a galloping motion.
That's why, you know, that's why the horse is actually, the tongue, it's extended. Look at the eyes. It's like it's running for something.
Yes.
So
yes.
it's not a stationary horse. It's one that is
it's in movement.
right. It's in movement. So that's what I admire about this as well. It's really something. It's made of wood.
Solid wood.
100 over years old, but I must tell you, it's heavy. That means it's solid as well.
It's solid.
Oh my God!
It's
yeah.
solid.
Why do the ancients make everything so difficult for?
Because it had to last.
It had to last.
And
it
there
had
was
to last.
love in the making of pieces like this.
You know, the whole idea of all this talk about modes of transport is that be it the elephants,
Yes.
be it the camels, or be it the horse, for ceremony or even for trading purposes, Tibet and China, we talk about yak as well. And even, we don't have camels today, but we can include camels in the list, was really about the desire of an individual or the people back then to conquer space. And while they are doing a lot of other peripheral effects, like you know, to show strength to the people, to show that how glorious we are, including today when the king of Thailand, they do a ceremony, they will have elephants as well.
Elephants, yes.
So this whole concept of desire about conquering space in our time, if not, people could have done two things. They could have kept to themselves, or they have gone anywhere by foot. But instead, they insisted on using this, tame these beasts, groom them, kept them well. It costs a lot to actually keep an elephant anyway, and a horse actually. So, but to make them travel the distance to accomplish great objectives has always been part of us. Of course, after that led to the invention of steamboats, that led to the invention of airplanes. So that's why you flew over to Asia easily. That's how the invention of cars, we managed to go to JB for lunch and dinner and come back on the same day. The conquering of distances is something that has always been on our mind. But now the question is that with all parts of the world, the universe explored, this globe explored, what is there left to conquer, right? I mean, well, you can, with the invention of technology, we can definitely fly to Italy maybe in 10 hours, maybe in 8 hours, we don't know. So it actually is about not just conquering spaces, but also conquering time.
Conquering time.
Because if Marco Polo has traveled to China by foot, by horses, or by ship, I think the other predecessor that we're talking about is also called Giuseppe.
Yes.
Right? The Qing dynasty, there's a painter in Qing dynasty that served Qianlong all the way, they served Kangxi all the way to Qianlong. I forgot his full name. What is his full name?
Giuseppe?
Yeah.
I will tell you in a second. It's in my mind.
Yeah. It's a long one. I mean, it's Italian after all. I know the Chinese name.
Yes.
The Chinese got a very simple name for it. He's called Lang Shiling. It was a translation from his first name, I think. Something Giuseppe, yeah.
Okay.
So it's Giuseppe something, yeah.
Yes.
It's called Lang Shiling. He painted for the 3 generations of Qing Dynasty emperors. He would have traveled to China via the sea.
It's possible.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, it's possible. And then spread the whole culture and left a great deal of legacy behind. And by the time it was Mr. Pino's turn, he traveled to Singapore by airplane. So 14 hours instead of 14 months. We are traveling to the same places. You and your predecessors.
Yes.
Marco Polo, the other Giuseppe.
Castiglioni.
Castiglioni, yes. Yeah. There you have it, yeah.
Castiglioni.
Castiglioni.
Yes.
So was it Castiglioni Giuseppe or Giuseppe de Castiglioni?
Okay. Usually in Italian, you first mention your name, which is Giuseppe. And then the second part would be the surname.
Right.
So Giuseppe, the Christian name, like in my case, and then it would come the surname, and Castiglioni would be the surname.
So he's from the Castiglioni family.
Castiglioni family, Milan.
Right. So we travel to the same places, but actually we travel with shorter and shorter time.
Yes.
I'm sure Marco Polo traveled, like it took years for him to travel to China. Castiglioni, probably by boat, several months, less than a year probably. And Mr. Giuseppe de Giosa actually traveled to China or to part of Asia in about 14, 17 hours.
Yes.
2 hours in the airport.
2 hours in airport, but the pure flight would have been maybe 10 hours or 11 hours from Rome to Bangkok, as I mentioned earlier, and 2.5 hours or 3 hours Bangkok to Singapore.
So it's really about conquering time that we have here. And it's on the mind of all great scientists. It's on the mind of all great inventors. It's also on the mind of all great kings who wants to accomplish great things in their period, in their lifetime. This is coincidental, but I shared something on Facebook today that sort of resonates to this idea that, in this moment now, we are talking about Museum in Lotus. As you are watching now, you're watching Museum in Lotus in the comfort of your own home. And of course, you see right behind me, Master Yun's art, calligraphy, and behind Mr. Giuseppe, you see Master Yun's painting. It is in this moment that we must recognize that somehow, whenever we see Master Yun's art, actually a lot of things are happening around the whole world at the same time. At the same time. For instance, I can tell you, one way to conquer time, other than creating a faster mode of transport, is that what Master Yun has done, the art is now in Singapore for sure, but while we are appreciating it, at the same time probably, or at about the same time, Master Yun's art might be in Tokyo. Because we talked about this briefly, we haven't really talked about it in depth, that visitors who are currently at the Tokyo's Metropolitan Art Museum would be also admiring Master Yun's art just like us, because we know that just several weeks ago, Master Yun's painting, in fact still there, was exhibited, and people who go to the museum can enjoy it. There we have it, the Tokyo Metropolitan Art Museum, and the next one we have Master Yun's art. Obviously, it's Master Yun's art.
Yes.
And if we took a close-up to it, we can see Master Yun's name there. There we have it.
Yes.
So Singapore, Tokyo, Japan, and then we also have something is happening in Laos. Laos, a country we are familiar. So a few places, this is Laos, and actually this is actually happening at the tail of the Himalayas, because the tail of the Himalayas affect there, and we have a few more photos about that. You see Master Yun and his art are actually all around the world. There we have it. Beautiful. And this one is in Bali, Indonesia, Bali. So a lot of things are happening around the globe at the same time while we are talking and while we are speaking and while we are expanding. This is actually a famous place called Coup d'etat. Have you been to Bali?
I've been many times to Bali.
This Coup d'etat, it's a place that for tourists, they have to go. You know, the kind of thing,
Yes.
the most hip place in Bali, that's Coup d'etat. The next one we have, you see, this is the Coup d'etat. You can see the symbol at the back of the host. And then we have, now this one is actually in Penang, still in Penang. So I show this photo intentionally because while we are talking, Master Yun's art here is in Singapore. It's also happening in Bali. It's also happening in Laos near Himalayas. It's also happening in Tokyo at the same time. So it's all over the place. I mean, talk about an art that actually conquers space and time. That is really something. I mean, no mode of transport might be able to achieve this. We have advanced from foot all the way to elephants and then to horses and probably to steam train and then to aeroplanes. But Master Yun's art been all over the world at the same time. That is really something else. And of course, intentionally, I've chosen pieces of art behind us today for a special reason. And I must tell you, because you'll be invited.
Oh.
Behind me and Mr. Pino, the art pieces, the painting and the calligraphy, they are actually from the ABM Art Beyond Museum UK series. We spoke about them before. There were 36 pieces of them, and then probably by now, maybe only half are left. Why did I bring out the UK series today? Is because this Sunday, 25th of September, 4:30 p.m., the host of Art Beyond Museum UK series, Chef Daniel Lee, which we talked about several times.
We have.
Not only is he the host of our stop in England, he's also the Master Chef UK, the Professionals 2021 champion. He will be in Singapore, and he will be in Lotus on Water.
Fantastic.
So he has traveled about 4,000 miles or 4,000 kilometers, I forgot which was it, that all the way to Singapore to meet with our fans in Singapore. And there you have it, you see. This Sunday, if you come by the gallery, you would actually get to see Chef Daniel Lee in person. Of course, he's a celebrity chef now, and Master Yun will be around as well. So it's a great time for you to come to the gallery this Sunday, 4:30. But please sign up. You can bring your friends. You can bring friends who are not even clients of Lotus on Water yet. And you can collect one of this. At the back, we list the areas that Master Yun's paintings have been to. The QR code actually leads you to the YouTube channel where you can watch all the ABM UK paintings. Now here, on that very day, 25th of September, this Sunday, 4:30 p.m., on the spot, you can get Master Yun and Chef Daniel to autograph on this thing.
Oh, wonderful. Very good.
Chef Daniel, not on elephant, not on horse, has traveled on a plane all the way to Singapore to meet with you, while Master Yun's art has actually traveled to all around the world in a speck of a moment. Always remember, as we are speaking, Master Yun's art and his fengshui universe is happening all around the world. That's sending many horses and sending many elephants all around the globe at the same time. So this Sunday, it's a great opportunity for us to experience this amazing thing, to see Chef Daniel Lee in person as well. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God. Yeah, he's a chef. I know. Maybe he will appreciate focaccia's.
Focaccia.
Focaccia. You see,
Organized.
probably by the end of the entire series, I'll get Italian correct. Yeah. Okay, so I hope this episode leaves you with the idea of how our predecessors have always desired to conquer distances with new animals, with new beasts, with new technology, and so on. And at this point in time, we don't need to conquer new countries. We don't need to conquer new spaces. But the question is that how to actually be there at even a faster time, right?
The time.
Yeah. I look forward to the day that I can fly to Italy and have pasta in the morning.
First cappuccino in the morning.
First, sorry, I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm going to be
Cappuccino
posted.
and croissant.
I'm going to be posted on Italians Mad at Food. Yeah, I'm going to have cappuccino
and croissant.
Really?
Cornetto in Italian, or brioche. So we have our own version. Nothing to do with
the French.
No,
no,
nothing,
not the
nothing,
French.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, we're not as good as the French.
When do the Italians do pizza?
Sorry?
Like at what period do the Italians do pizza?
They do it every single day.
Oh,
And in the evening, most of the people would have a pizza.
really?
Yes.
Really? It's ironic, huh? It's that the common say is that no, people should eat less carbohydrates and sugars and stuff, but you look at the Italians.
I think it's partly to do with the genetic,
Okay.
but
That's not giving me a lot of hope, yeah.
and how can you walk away? Actually, last night I had focaccia.
You had focaccia,
I had
oh.
focaccia.
Right.
And it was delicious. Just taken
terrible,
out from the oven, and just you take a slice, and it's just heaven. Let me tell you, heaven.
Okay, God is not fair. Yeah.
No.
God is fairer to the Italians. Give them certain genetics that they can eat carbs and sugar for life, and there you see it. It doesn't affect them. Yeah. Anyway, so there we have it. We're going to ask a question for tonight's lucky draw, and these are the winners for last week's potential winners. We presented two sorts of antiques today, two categories, and they are carved of particular beasts, and they were used for modes of transports in the past,
Yes.
right? Some of them 18th century, some of them 19th century. The question is simple. What are these two beasts that we have presented today? Either one would do.
Yes.
It's not something that you will ride on every day in Singapore. You might get a chance to ride on it if you go to the zoo and go in circles. But back in the old days, people really used this for war, for ceremony, and for moving houses, and for transporting tea as well, actually. Yeah. So
Yes.
what are these two animals that we talked about that people in the past used it for modes of transport? Either one, type it in the comment. And I'll now have Mr. Pino choose 3 lucky winners. 1. What is 1 in Italian?
Uno.
Uno. Claire Key. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Claire.
Claire
Good
Key.
luck.
Due? No.
Due.
Due. Yeah. What is due? Oh. Oh, as a Chinese day, it's called Wu Sui Yuan. Yeah. Congratulations. Yeah.
Congratulations. And this
and
is
then
the third one.
Which is
Tre.
Tre. Yeah. If you do this since episode 1, my Italian will be Jervis Chua. Congratulations. Yeah.
Congratulations, Jervis.
Claire Key, Wu Sui Yuan, and Jervis Chua. Congratulations. We talked about a mode of transport, and I explained to you actually how Master Yun's art has been conquering spaces, conquering time, improving his mode of transport all the time, so that whenever we are admiring Master Yun's art, just think about this. Just try to wrap this around your head. Someone else at another part of the world is doing the same thing at the same time with you. Of course, once again, this Sunday, 25th of September, 4:30, Chef Daniel Lee, MasterChef UK professional champion, he'll be in the house. He'll be in Lotus on Water. Come here with your friends. Get this. He'll be only here for just probably half an hour, 1 hour. So not to be missed. Get this signed, especially if you own Master Yun's art. You really want to come by and get this signed by Master Yun and Chef Daniel, and keep this for a long time.
Yes.
Might just 150 years later, someone might just talk about this, yeah, like what we're doing today.
Yes.
With that, I'll be seeing you next week for another session of Museum in Lotus. Thank you, Mr. Pino.
Thank you.
Thank you for the wonderful session.
Thank you very much.